Next on the docket is Virgil again. So he passed away, a week and a half ago or so, as we record this. And I put on the thumbnail 1962 to 2024. Now, apparently, he was meant to be 61 years old, and apparently in life, as he was living, he used to, joke to people that one of the biggest secrets about him was his age. And he wasn't lying, because he was actually 72, not 61. And it's like, how bizarre is that? That he fooled people that he was over a decade younger, and people just bought it.
Well, as you get older, you understand that some people have no time for older, especially in wrestling, older talent. So he's been used to doing this for a long time. And he probably told Vince he took 10 years off his age. And with Virgil, you really could not tell. He could have been 61, but he was really, before he got sick, he could have claimed that and people would believe it. So, and he's been doing that for a long time. It was a joke. Nobody really cared. And somebody brought it out. No, how old was he? 72?
Yeah, so instead of being born in 1962, he was actually born April 7th, 1951. And even on the funeral home website, they even made mention of it on that one of the biggest secrets about him was his age. And that was, so that's actually surprised a huge amount of people.
Well, he did that to keep a job, and especially with Vince. Because after when he finished up with WWE, it was WWF then, I would assume, but you didn't really hear about Virgil much at all. Did he ever go to WCW?
Yeah, he was in the NWA. So keep in mind that he actually had his biggest success when he was still in the WWF at the age of 40 or 39 or something like that. So when I was very young, I was given, I started watching wrestling in 93, but I was given tapes of older stuff. And in 91, I think he finally avenges Ted DiBiase and wins the $1 million belt, or if it wasn't in that show, it was around that time. And I think at the time it was like, a young man sort of tricked into almost indentured servitude to the evil $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. But now we find out that he was actually a middle-aged guy who was tricked into this the entire time. Crazy, but yeah.
Got him a job, kept him in a job.
Yep. What other wrestlers would never admit to their real age? Do you remember? Apart from Lawler.
Lawler would never. See, Lawler and me, we had the same birthday, same day, same year. He used to call me his. I forgot what he used to call me. The
Cosmic Brother, you said.
Cosmic, yeah, the Cosmic Brother, and he would laugh, but he would, and I think you have a question about that, but he would not publicly acknowledge that he had a son, because his son would be like 28. He didn't want to admit that he was that old. So he guarded that for a long, long time, his age. So, and I said, I'm going to come in behind you and I'm going to say, we got the same birthday, but unfortunately I'm 10 years older than you. How does that work out? He didn't think it. He didn't think that was too funny, but he did. Age was really, it was an irritating factor in his life. He didn't want to think about it.
Is there anybody else you can think of who shaved years off their shoot age, as it were?
Well, there probably a lot of them that did it. Not that I'm aware of. I think Bill Dundee, he would do it. I never knew Bill's age anyway. I think he kept that a secret. But I think now he's probably about 5 or 6 years older than I am, but he never admitted it. But he always looked good. He would always work out, and when he would say that, "Hey, matey, I'm younger than you," or whatever he would say, but he was a little bit age conscious too himself.
I wrote a few down. Rocky Johnson, I'm pretty sure, shaved a few years off. Famously, the Boogeyman if you remember him, because he must have made a couple of appearances in WWE at the same time you were there. And famously, he was on Tough Enough, and they discounted him straight away because whoever the judge was says, "How old are you?" 30. But how old are you really? 30. But yeah, but what's your age? 30. And then eventually he's like, okay, what's your actual age? 40. and then they disqualified him straight away, but then they ended up bringing him back and he was there for years. Another one who no one seems to know the age of is Abdullah the Butcher.
No, and I don't think he was asked that many times anyway, Abdullah. So, and I don't know how old he was. Still don't know how old is he?
I'd guess like early 80s, maybe.
Now here's a guy that was always big, but he looked like. But you ever heard of like he looks fat, but he's not? I mean, he had working ability to go in that ring, because he would go in there and he'd pull matches sometimes 15, 20 minutes. Because he didn't do nothing, just walk around the floor and beat people up. But that takes a certain amount of energy, even in that. But I never knew how old he was. And let me tell you how stupid I was. Have I told you this story? I first met him in Atlanta, and they said he was from the Sudan. I swear to God, I sit there, and I was sitting across from Abdullah one day. I'm a kid. I'm actually scared to death, and I'm looking around the dressing room like this, and I look over at Abdullah, and Abdullah looked at me, and I looked away. But it was probably a couple of weeks before I realized that he could even speak English. I thought he was really from the Sudan. And so when he would mumble to himself, I said, oh, he just getting himself prepped up or whatever. But I actually believed he was from the Sudan. And finally one day he said, hey, mate. He has a very light, thin voice too. And he told his manager one day, hey, mate, could you hand me a Coke? Something like that. But he had that. He had a real, and wait a minute. I said, this voice does not fit this body. So, and then I found out he could speak English. And finally, I asked somebody, stupid me, I would ask, is he really from the Sudan? They said, no, you Mark, you idiot. He's from Toronto. I said, well, nobody else says that. And he said, it's a gimmick, you goof. And then we went on. See, guys, when I started, they had a great deal of patience with me. They had to. So. But I can say this, none of them ever like kept ribbing me about it, or they just thought it was just a stupid statement. And I was just young and they let it go.